I guess I'll take this opportunity to do a bit of a self-introduction since I haven't done that yet. Because I feel like you've all gotten to know Mr. Donahue pretty well, but I don't really feel like I've gotten to talk to you all too much. So, my name is Wilson Fung. I have been working in this field since 2011. So I came through this very program starting back in 2009, just maybe a year or two out of high school, graduated in 2011, went on, got my MRI certification in 2012, worked at Bentop General Hospital for about 8-9 years, and then came back in as a teacher for this program. You guys will actually be my second full class. Okay, so. Yay.
What do you mean by second full class?
Second full class, so that means when I started, I came in the middle of a class, so they were already in their second year. And so I got to work with them a little bit, but then last year, right? Last year, your current seniors were sitting right where you guys were as brand new juniors, and they were my first full class. I had them from the very beginning, from summer, and I'll have them all the way through. You guys will be my second full class in that case. Going to start with you in summer and take you all the way through to graduation. Let's see. Anything else about me? I guess since you all shared some fun facts about yourselves, I'll share some facts about myself. My hobbies, my interests, really into technology. I built my own computer. I like video games because I'm a millennial, right? I also like Asian culture, so Japanese anime, Japanese manga, listen to K-pop a little bit. My sister got me into it. By the way, I do have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than I am. I unfortunately was not able to convince her to join this program, probably because when she was younger, I traumatized her with my stories of the ER. And she's kind of squeamish, so she absolutely refuses to step anywhere near the school now. Okay? Because if she did, I'd probably tie her down to a chair and have her attend lessons with you. But no, she's doing something. She's doing something else now, so it is what it is. Let's see. Okay, so anything you'd like to know about me? Yes.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? Okay, yes. So I was born here in the States, originally born in Pennsylvania, moved down to Texas when I was in middle school, but that's probably not the question. My parents are, one's from Vietnam, one is from Hong Kong. So I'm half Chinese, half Vietnamese.
Mr. Fung.
Yes.
Your stuff is gone.
That's okay.
Okay.
It was kind of getting bright shining in my face anyway, so I appreciate it doing that for me.
So when you spoke about Japan, I would have thought Chinese, but then now when you said you're talking about your interest in the Japanese thing, so I thought, well, are you from Japan?
No, I'm not from Japan. No, I'd like to visit one day, but it was one of the areas that was really hard hit by coronavirus. So they were in lockdown for a very long time. And then now that they're finally opening back up, but I've got you guys, so if I did want to visit, I probably wouldn't go until December, which I probably won't get a chance to, because who knows what's coming up next, right? Hopefully nothing, fingers crossed, but monkeypox, right? You're hearing that started to crop up, your COVID cases coming back on the rise, so I don't know, it's been an interesting two and a half years so far.
This is the second time Johns has used monkeypox. What does that mean?
Monkeypox. So yes, monkeypox is another one of those diseases that we are keeping a close eye on. There's some news of it spreading, yes, but we don't know if it's gonna get as big as COVID, but hopefully not. But it's just something we have our eyes on.
Or only in the monkeys, or it's coming into human beings?
It's in human beings. It is in human
Or
beings.
the monkeypox is in humans?
Yes, it is.
Got some
If it was only in monkeys, I wouldn't be so concerned. Right? Just the
That's a
zoo's
COVID
problem.
story.
That one.
Yeah.
Right? That's something for the zoo.
They're like, oh, we don't have to worry about it.
But no, that's right. We have, right? We've got chicken pox, and now we have monkeypox.
They had any fatalities from those?
That I do not know. I've not kept up with it that closely. Yes.
This is another question. How old are you since you look so young?
How old am I? So anytime I get asked this question, I always answer in a roundabout way. I always make you do the research for me.
35.
So, what I will tell you is that my Chinese zodiac symbol is the dragon. Since Chinese zodiac symbols are by year of birth, you can use that to kind of guess how old I am. If you guess wrong, then I'm either 12 years older or younger than I really am. Right? In which case I may be happy or not so happy about your guess. Okay, any other questions?
So do you speak another language?
Yes, although I wouldn't call it fluently. I do speak some Chinese Mandarin, I do speak some Chinese Cantonese, I do speak a little bit of Japanese.
Yeah.
I know just enough Spanish to ask a patient to get in position for a chest x-ray, and everything else is in English. And I know enough Vietnamese to order food. That's important. Especially here in Houston, because there's so many great Vietnamese restaurants around. Okay, any other questions? Yes,
Completely unrelated. Top 5 anime.
top 5 anime. Ooh. So you'll have some common ones like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, but then you'll have some more obscure ones like Madoka Magica and Hyoka on there as well.
Okay.
As for the other 2 slots, I'm not quite sure right now. But
Okay.
I'll consider it. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Is that the anime?
Sorry, we're geeking out.
Japanese
I was like,
cartoons,
what is
don't
he
worry,
talking
it's not
about?
fun.
Yeah, he said he knows a little bit Japanese. It's probably from
Alright.
subtitles.
Any other questions?
I was
Exactly
gonna
what
ask,
it
do you have any children?
Do I have any children?
No.
No, I do not. Which means I have a lot of free time. So you are all,
And bills.
so all of you are my children, right? All of you are my children, right? So I've had, like a previous senior class, they called me up like 2 Sundays ago. They're like, hey, Mr. Fung, can you come up here to LBJ Hospital? We're trying to practice, trying to make sure we're doing these positions correctly. I'm like, yeah, 7:30 in the morning. All right, sure, why not? Okay, so yeah, you guys are basically my children right now. Yes.
Which one did you like better, X-ray or MRI?
Which one did I like better, X-ray or MRI? Great question. So, MRI, I really loved the theoretical aspect of it. The practical aspect, not so much, because I was still young, I was energetic, and MRI is a very boring sit-down job. Because you get the patient into the machine, you sit down in front of your computer, and you are there for the next 2 hours. And then you stand up, get the patient off the table, put your next patient on. So, it's a great retirement job, right? People, once they get older, they love to get into MRI, and they'll just stay there for the rest of their lives until they retire. But for me, it was too slow-paced. So, X-ray was what I mainly did, and I preferred the emergency, the hospital setting over the clinic setting. Because in clinics, you have walk-in patients, right? They're all relatively healthy. They're all relatively able to position themselves, which means it's relatively boring. I liked being in cases where you see patients being rushed in from the ambulance, and you're rushing to get x-rays for the doctors as fast as possible, or you're trying to be creative in getting the different angles and the different views that they want to see, while working around broken arms and things like that. So I really like the hospital setting. Besides, in the hospital, you have a lot more variety. You're not stuck only doing x-rays, because you also have fluoroscopy, which is basically x-rays in motion. You get to work in the surgical suites, running C-arms for the surgeons and the doctors. You get to do portable x-rays, where you drive around a machine and go bedside. So there's a lot more variety, a lot more to keep me interested. Christina, yes?
I just remember the Wilson lateral.
Yes, you were around for that, weren't you? Yes, so as a heads up, if you do end up going to Bentov General Hospital and you do rotate through the surgery rotation, which you most likely will either as a junior or a senior, you may hear some doctors refer to a Wilson lateral in the middle of the surgery. Yes, I am that Wilson. They named the C-arm position after me, so. Kind of honored.
Why you,
Yes,
what
it probably is the
was the reason for?
What was the
getting
reason for it? So this is a bit advanced. It might be hard to picture since you've never seen one. But let's say that a patient has a broken leg, specifically a broken femur. There's two types of views that doctors need to see. They need to see it from the front and from the side. Problem with trying to see it from the side is that you've got two legs. You're gonna end up seeing both legs if you go straight sideways. So usually we need to come in at a bit of an angle. So we kind of rotate a bit, we kind of angle a bit to get the other leg out the way. The problem with that is now you need to move your machine around a lot. And when you do that, you run the risk of hitting the patient, you run the risk of hitting the sterile field. You're not likely to end up back in the same position, so the picture will look slightly different between shots, and it takes time. So what happened was we bought a brand new machine, and it came with this special lock, which let it move in a different way than normal. And it was a really weird motion, so everyone was like, don't ever touch that. It's just going to mess up your image. But I was looking at it and I was like, that would make for some really good femur x-rays, I think. So I somehow managed to convince some of the residents to let me try out a shot, and they liked it. They showed it to their boss. Their boss comes in next case, they're like, show me it again. I show the boss is like, all right, great, we're doing this from now on. And then he named it the Wilson lateral.
I would like to add, thanks to Wilson, a lot of us got yelled at by those residents because we had no idea how to get this.
Wilson lateral.
Yes,
Is it hard?
it is. Don't lie.
Apparently
Thanks
it's
for the honesty.
difficult. Yes, I think there's a question over here.
I lost my train of thought.
Which shows how to do it?
Oh, yeah.
That would require us to have a C-arm outside the OR suite. If we can find one, then I could show you.
That would be interesting to see.
Any other questions?
So new imaging techniques are still being put out, like
Yes, that's correct. So medicine is an ever-evolving field. That's why they always keep putting out new editions of these textbooks, right? It's not just to make money, although that's part of it, I'll be honest, it's just part of it. But it's always because they're always updating things, they're changing recommendations, they're adding positions, taking away positions.
New findings, right?
New findings, yes, new ways to do things. For example, back when I was in school, we were taught to do ankle x-rays with the foot in a certain position. I come back here 10 years later to try and teach them, and they changed it on me. Now you're supposed to do it with the foot in a different position. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I read the reasoning, and it's like, oh, that makes sense though. Okay, I see where they're going with this. So yes, this is an evolving field, and that is why, even after you graduate, you still need to keep up with what is going on. So they force you to do continuing education. Continuing education forces you to be looking at new stuff in the field every 2 years. You need to do 24 credits every 2 years. That way you can kind of keep informed about what's happening and what changes, if any, are going on. And to keep your knowledge refreshed as well.
So the continuing education aspect doesn't just limit you to your field, though, right? You can go and check out other things, or
Yes, you certainly can. In fact, one way to get your continuing education is to pursue a new modality. So, for example, once you finish here and you go into the workforce, after 2 years, you need to report 24 credits. One way you can do that is by joining a program like CT or MRI or MAMO, and then use those credits to apply towards your continuing education. So yes, expanding your horizons, learning new things will count towards your CEs.
So then when you're working or you're, then you get a chance to do the other courses at that time,
So it is outside your work. It is a work requirement, but you have to do it on your own time.
so.
And your work will not pay for it.
No, that's what, it will give you the time to do the course, right?
So,
Or you have to work around your work to be able to do a course.
so the courses usually they end up being weekend lectures, weekend seminars,
I see.
or evening lectures, evening seminars. But thanks to technology, we now also have online CE courses. So you can take them online. You can basically like read an article, answer questions about the article, and that counts as your CE. Just keep in mind at least some of your CEs will need to be face-to-face, and we'll talk more about that during this class. I mean, not this lecture specifically, but here in Intro to RadTech, that's one of the topics we will cover.
And what is CE, sir? Sorry.
CE stands for Continuing
Oh, I see.
Education. Yes.
Hey, just offhand, everybody's asking some really good questions, so I'm glad that you're giving us some info on that. Just to turn it back, I just had a personal question, just about you. Do you have any pets?
Do I have any pets? I do not. I only ever owned one pet, and it was a goldfish that lasted a day. Caught it at a festival, it flipped upside down the next day, so we flushed it down.
Oh.
I was fine. It was like, what can you expect?
He said never again.
I don't know if I killed it. I don't remember when I killed the tiger. It may have. But no, I do not own any pets right now.
Do you like sports?
Do I like sports? I like tennis. I follow tennis. I don't really follow any of the other sports like football, basketball, baseball, soccer. Yeah. I played the tennis, so that's the one I follow.
Are you good at it?
I was good at it when I was younger. Now, probably not so much. Yes.
Yeah, Samantha. So one question I had, I'm a little familiar with China. I know like mainland China, as you said, I know that's like Mandarin, and I know Hong Kong is Cantonese, a little familiar. Growing up to where Chinese and kind of Vietnam, was there one culture that you felt that you identify a little bit more with than the other?
Yes, so I definitely do identify more Chinese than Vietnamese. Even though I say my father is from Vietnam, his family was also originally from China. So they ended up speaking a lot of Chinese and Cantonese while still living in Vietnam. So yes, I'm definitely more culturally Chinese.
Let's see.
Let's see, what time is it right now?
55.
55. All right. So,
You said 3.
okay. Any last minute questions before we move on?
If
Yes.
anybody else, I was wondering, is all your family in Houston? So I know you said Pennsylvania, but are you have family, maybe like your sister, your family's here?
Yes. My nuclear family is on Houston. In fact, if you go to Smith Clinic, right, one of the clinics that are part of Harris Health, you may run into my mother. Right, I do have some senior students who have worked with her because they were going through their MRI rotation. Cool. So yeah, she works MRI over at Smith Clinic. And then I have just the one younger sister who's currently finishing up a program in medical billing and coding. But yes, we all live in Houston.
I have one question.
Yes, Charlie.
So why did you want to teach again?
Why did I want to
Yeah,
teach?
why did you come to teach?
Great question.
Instructor, teacher.
For me, I always liked to teach. I always felt that knowledge was something that should be shared. Because, I mean, knowledge, it costs nothing to pass it on aside from time. And, well, at least time is something that I have right now. And also, growing up, I've always been kind of a teacher, right? Younger sister, so I would be the one to tutor her. In school, anytime we had study groups, study sessions, I would usually end up leading them and trying to teach. And part of the reason was because my philosophy in learning is that you learn best when you try to teach. For example, take MRI. I went through a year worth of MRI in order to study and pass the registry. Then in 2016, I got hired on as the MRI instructor here at the school. And so I had a summer to kind of refresh myself in order to start teaching the class. Guess during which time period, the 1 year versus the 1 summer, I learned the most about MRI.
In the summer when
When
you
you
were
were
preparing to teach.
Right, in the summer when I was preparing to teach. Because trying to teach, I needed to look at all the material, figure out what was important, figure out how to get that information across to somebody else, figure out different ways to get the information across in case one method didn't work, figure out what kind of questions I could be asked, figure out how to go around, how to answer those questions. And so it ended up being much, much deeper than the surface learning I had done during my 1 year. So if you want to make sure you know something, try to teach it. Because that is where you will figure out what you do not know. You will try and teach something and then you will reach a point where you're like, I actually don't know how to explain this. I actually don't know what this is. And that is where you know you will need to study more on. So, one of the things that I do recommend you do here during your 2 years, form study groups. Try to teach each other. Through teaching, you will find out what you do not know, what you need to focus on. Right? And hearing different people try and teach you, if one method doesn't click with you, maybe a different explanation will. So it's great to hear from lots of different perspectives. It's great to try and teach to lots of different perspectives.
Okay.
Great question.
Good answer.
Thank you. All right, and so with that, let's move on to this syllabus. So this syllabus is very similar to the one we covered earlier. So, as far as this course goes, this is designed to introduce you to both medical radiography and the radiology department as a whole. So we're going to be talking about not just equipment, but like the people involved, the organization, the hospital as a whole. You would complete this introductory course with a basic understanding of the complexities of general healthcare, the special dimensions of radiology, and a clear awareness of the unique role and responsibility of the technologist. This course includes basic medical terminology that will help enhance your understanding of healthcare language. And this will come in handy when we go into next semester and you get into pathology. Because a very easy way to handle pathology is to look at the different roots, prefixes, suffixes of the words. That's how you can figure out what disease it is. This is an intro class, so you can start this straight away. You don't need any prerequisites. Okay, goals. Define terms related to radiologic technology. Okay, so vocabulary. Identify the various specialties within a radiology department. Describes the typical responsibilities of the members of the radiology team. Differentiate accreditation, certification, and representation functions of various professional organizations. Explain the importance of adhering to major clinical education policies and the importance of patient personnel and self-protection by adhering to the ALARA principle. Discuss and review medical terminology, roots, prefixes, suffixes, and be familiar with the types of law and how they apply to medical radiography. So yes, you will also get a crash course into very basic medical law. Okay, required texts. This is going to be the book we are working out of. Okay? I do see that some of you already have it on your desks. Excellent. As far as medical terminology goes, there is a textbook. I do not require the textbook. However, what will happen is I am going to send you all a link to register for an online course. The online course will have certain modules that I will assign and expect to be done by certain dates. Okay? So the medical terminologies part is more of a self-study. I just want to make sure that you're progressing through those modules. Yes?
So given that it's a self-study, we can do it early before your dates? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes, you could. There's no harm in getting it done ahead of time. In fact, I do encourage that. Yes?
Do we have to purchase that?
So yes, the course you will also need to purchase. If I remember correctly, it's $45 or so. Yes, I know. School can be expensive. But still on the cheaper side, right? Only 800 tuition. What else do you need? You need ExamSoft and Examplify. Yes, Samantha.
I'm sorry, just one question. For the midterm, or do we have to have like a class key, or we just get registration and we're in there?
I believe you will get an access code.
Okay.
And when will you give us this, sir?
So by the end of this week.
Okay.
Now, we have something called ExamSoft and Examplify. This is our digital testing platform. So we don't use Scantrons here at Harris Health. Instead, we do all of our tests digitally, virtually, using either your laptops or your tablets. So you will need to make sure to create an account with ExamSoft. You should have all gotten an invitation in your Harris Health emails. You have instructions to download ExamSoft or Examplify specifically. And then pay attention to the minimum system requirements because it is kind of a heavy software program. So it does require a certain amount of hard disk space. It does require a certain level of memory, things like that. Yes?
Will we require or be required to have a external webcam or anything of that nature?
You will not. All of the tests will be done here in the classroom.
Okay, cool.
So you'll just bring your laptop or bring your tablet and you'll do the tests here at your desk. So I'll be the external webcam.
So,
And let's see, so once I make sure that everyone has registered, we'll briefly go over how this works on Friday. Okay, so do try and bring your laptops or your tablets on Friday. Try and have it Exemplify already installed so that you can kind of follow along with me as we go over it.
So to create an account, we just have to go to the site and then follow instructions, sir?
So to create an account, you should actually have an email. So in your Harris Health email, you should have received an email sometime this morning that will ask you to finish setting up your account.
So you go to the link and it will take you through it.
Correct. So go to your email, follow the link, and fill out the required information.
Thank you.
Okay. Daily assignments, homework. Okay, medical terminology quizzes will count as an assignment grade. quizzes will be scheduled and taken online. Quizzes may also be unscheduled and may be taken offline. I think you did get a heads up from your seniors that I do occasionally give pop quizzes. Okay, I'm not doing that to be mean. I just want to make sure that you are reading your material. Okay? The last thing I want is for you to try and wait until the final 2 days and cram for an exam. Because while that will let you pass an exam, you are going to forget that information immediately afterwards. Okay? So, long-term studying is the goal. If you do studying over a long period of time repetitively, things stick. If you just study for 2 days and then don't look at it, it will not stick. Okay, speaking of exams, exams will count for 40% of your grade in this class. Class participation will cover 10% of your grade in this class. And then the comprehensive final exam will cover 35% of your grade. So you can see the breakdown right here. Chapter exams are 40%, homework and assignments 15%, class participation 10%, comprehensive final 35%.
And surprise quizzes fall into which one, sir?
Surprise quizzes would fall into daily assignments. Assuming I did. Surprise. I may or may not, right? It's up to my mood. Okay, grade scale exactly the same as your previous courses. 94 to 100A, 86 to 93B, 76 to 85C, 75 and below F. So, policies, information, statements, this is all the same as previously. So we'll go ahead and skip past that. Okay, just want to make note, disclaimer, I do reserve the right to make modifications to the syllabus throughout the semester, especially if I need to change the schedule up. But I will always make sure that you are aware. I will send you updated versions if I make a change. Okay. As far as our schedule, we've already done our program orientation. We're here right now on the 6th. Okay, so we're doing our syllabus and course review right now. Let's see. So we're going to be covering the profession of radiologic technology, which is chapters 1 through 4. Okay, that's kind of contained as a unit inside your book. And then we will have an exam.
So I have a question with
Yes.
that. When you're supposed to read chapters 1 to 4, is it best to read every word of it?
Is it best to read every word of it? I do recommend reading every word, even though every word may not be important. So, it is up to you to read through the entire thing and then see if you can figure out what is important, what is not. If I remember correctly, this book does do a good job of
Summary, if you just read the summary, sir.
So for example, this book will highlight key terms. It has them in bold and blue, so you can see where your key terms, where your vocabulary is. Right? But the main thing is that I don't want you to memorize the book word for word. That's not the goal. Read it, read the whole thing, but do not try and memorize it word for word. Pick out the key concepts. So make yourself an outline, create categories, make lists, do something to take that information in the book and transform it into information that you are more comfortable with reading. Because when you want to go back and study, you don't want to read all those paragraphs again. You want to be able to look at something that's a more condensed version that tells you what you need to know. So make sure you make your own notes out of the book.
So if you start with the summary and go backwards and elaborate the summary, is that good enough, or that doesn't cover, summary doesn't cover everything important?
I will never say good enough. Okay, I will not say good enough.
So
It-
that's-
It all comes down to what works for you. Right? If it works for you and it gets you the information you need, then yes, perhaps you could consider it those two words. But I'm not going to be saying good enough to any of your study strategies, right? It is, if it works, then great, keep doing what works. All right, so part 2 is starting near the end of this month. We're going to pay attention to the chapters because it does jump around a little bit. 5, 6, and then 9, 10. Okay, so that's introduction to clinic. We'll have a test. August, we go into ethical and legal issues. Okay, so we'll have chapters 24 and 26. We cover ethical and legal issues. And then finally, near the end, we are going to have our review. Finals week is going to be the second last week of August. Okay? Yes?
So for the ethical and legal aspect, we're going to be covering things like EMTALA and like HIPAA and things of that nature, or?
Correct.
Okay.
So you'll learn about HIPAA. You'll also learn about things like tort law.
Okay.
So we'll cover assault, we'll cover battery, we'll cover negligence, we'll cover libel and slander as well. So yes, all of that does fall under that chapter. Yes?
For finals weeks, do we have to, are we gonna be in class or that's just for the people who need to make up?
So finals week, each day you will have a final for a different class. So you guys have 3 classes, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week you will have finals. And then during that week, remember you will also have your lab test notes.
I meant to say for
Oh,
makeup week.
and then,
sorry.
yes, and then makeup week. Makeup week, if you missed any time, and I really hope you do not, because this is the first semester, that would be when you would need to make up time. So, for example, if you suddenly need to be out for COVID, and you're out for 5 days, then you would make up those 5 days during makeup week.
Makeup meaning the assignments, the tests in those 5 days, right?
Right, so I would so you would have to come here in person to the school, and then you'd sit with me, and then I'd give you some assignments or things to do.
But if you didn't miss anything, you don't have to come, right?
Correct. If you don't miss anything, you don't need to come. So that's going to be your holiday week in that case. Are we okay with the syllabus?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, great. So, Mr. Donahue has mentioned that he is no longer going to give out PowerPoints for his class. As for me, I do give out PowerPoints, but only at the end after we have fully completed the chapter. So you would be able to use those PowerPoints to look over and review. But I do encourage you that during lecture, you are writing down and making your own notes. Now, it is difficult to write down and make notes if you are seeing the material for the first time. So I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but try your best to read ahead. Come to class already having seen the chapter, come to class already having seen the key terminology. That way, if I mention something, it won't sound so foreign to you. It will sound like, okay, I kind of remember reading about that. I kind of remember the topic the book was discussing when I saw that. Now let's see what Mr. Fung is going to say about that. Okay? That's how you want to be able to approach the lecture. You don't want to be like, wait, what did Mr. Fung just say? I've never heard that word before. Right? That is not a good sign. And so, to encourage that, I do ask you all to make note cards of the key terms. So, actually, sorry, so let me pull up the syllabus.
So what's the term you use? Note what, sir?
Note cards,
Note
flashcards.
cards.
Index cards.
So, whoops, wrong one. Intro to ragtime syllabus. So, I may have mistimed this because this is the first day, so you couldn't have known about what this vocabulary assignment was. So we'll go ahead and make our first change to the syllabus, which is to slide this down here. Okay, so for the vocabulary assignment, what I would like you to do, if you look here, let's say chapter 1, do you all see that there is this section that says key terms right here? What I would like you to do is to get some index cards, those like 3-inch by 5-inch index cards, and create flashcards using these key terms. So for each key term, on one side of the index card, write the vocabulary word, on the other side, write the definition. Okay. And so do that for your key terms, here chapters 1 through 4. Okay, and please bring them with you to class on Friday in that case. Right? That way I know that, at the very least, you have seen these words before we start talking about the chapter. Does that make
For
sense?
all the 4 chapters, sir.
Correct, so for all 4 chapters. Yes?
Hey, Mr. Fung, I apologize for all the questions. One question that I had, let's say if we use Quizlet, are we able to bring maybe one of them like handwritten or something? Can we just bring a handwritten vocab list and then also just put our link to our Quizlet or something if it's something you have to check?
Hmm.
Because it's just the digital flashcards.
Handwritten vocab list. As long as it is handwritten, I am okay with that.
Okay.
If you make the Quizlet, I'll make like 2 sets of flashcards. We get to go.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that is a
yeah.
great
We
point.
can even split.
Please do make sure your note cards are handwritten. Don't just print out the words and like glue one to the front, glue one to the back. Right? Please do make sure they are handwritten. I know it sounds silly, but the act of writing imprints things in your brain better than the act of typing. Right? So physically writing out the vocabulary word, physically writing out the definition, helps it stick in your brain better. All right, great. So any questions about this assignment for Friday?
So,
Yes.
so for all the key terms for the first 4 chapters, so we need to have all that done by this Friday?
Yes, please. Any other questions?
So the next vocabulary assignment will be on the 20th. No change to that.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you want, you could go ahead and just do all the vocabulary assignments for the entire semester during this first week, and then as long as you don't lose the note cards, you can just show them to me when it comes up.
Cool.
That is something that you absolutely can do. I have no problem with it.
Sweet. Shit, I might start selling flashcards.
All right, so it's 1:20. Let's take a short 2-minute break, and then when we come back for the last 30 minutes, we might do a little bit of lecture, and I think there's some final bookkeeping stuff I need to do as well.